Meow, my friends. Imagine a political circus where the ringmaster is juggling chainsaws while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. That's the dizzying spectacle unfolding in Paris today as French Prime Minister Michel Barnier faces a potential government collapse faster than you can say croissant crisis. Our dear Monsieur Barnier, the former Brexit negotiator turned budget butcher, has decided to wield Article 49.3 of the French Constitution like a fiscal guillotine. For those of you not fluent in political gobbledygook, that's essentially the governmental equivalent of plugging your ears and shouting "la la la, I can't hear you," while your opposition throws a tantrum. But oh mes amis, the opposition isn't just throwing a tantrum, they're hurling the entire playroom. Marine Le Pen, leader of the National Rally and apparently France's new budget bouncer, has declared that Barnier's fiscal gymnastics are a step too far. The French have had enough, she proclaimed, presumably while dramatically waving a baguette for emphasis. One can almost hear the collective sacre bleu echoing through the streets of Paris. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer audacity of Barnier's budgetary ballet. He's proposing to slash the public deficit from 6.1% to 5% of GDP faster than you can say Eiffel Tower. It's a financial diet so strict, it's making the Champs-Élysées look positively plump in comparison. We're talking 60 billion euros in cuts and tax hikes. That's more zeros than a mime convention, my friends. But wait, there's more. This fiscal fandango has sparked protests wilder than a Bastille Day celebration on steroids. Social media is ablaze with hashtags angrier than a Frenchman served decaf espresso. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, ever the digital rabble-rouser, is tweeting up a storm, declaring, "This government will fall," with more confidence than a rooster announcing dawn. The streets of Paris are angrier than a cat in a bathtub, with protesters waving baguettes like torches and chanting slogans that would make even the most hardened politician blush. From disgruntled cheesemakers to irate beret manufacturers, the streets are filled with protesters more diverse than the wine selection at a Michelin-starred restaurant. It's a veritable who's who of French discontent, and they're all united in their desire to give Barnier's budget the guillotine treatment. Now, if you're thinking this all sounds familiar, you're not wrong. France has a history of political drama spicier than a pot of bouillabaisse, but Barnier might be about to break a record that stood since 1962, becoming the first Prime Minister to be booted out by a no-confidence vote faster than you can say "Vive la Révolution." It's like he's speedrunning his way into the history books, but I'm not sure shortest-serving Prime Minister is the achievement he was aiming for. The implications? Oh, they're as far-reaching as a French vineyard. We're talking potential new elections, a government reshuffling more complicated than a game of three-dimensional chess, and economic ripples that could turn the euro into a flopping fish out of water. The entire European Union is watching with bated breath, wondering if France is about to throw a wrench into the continental works. Brussels is shaking more than a nervous chihuahua, wondering if France will be the next to throw a political tantrum and threaten to leave the sandbox. And let's not forget the poor beleaguered French citizens caught in this fiscal fracas. They're facing cuts to social benefits that have them feeling about as secure as a house of cards in a wind tunnel. The protests are growing louder than a cathedral full of ringing bells, with demonstrators wielding placards sharper than a well-aged camembert. Barnier's budget cuts are so deep, even French mimes are screaming in protest. Meanwhile, the opposition parties are coming together faster than French workers at a strike, forming an alliance more unexpected than escargot ice cream. It's like watching a political version of the Avengers, if the Avengers were a bunch of angry politicians with a vendetta against austerity. Marine Le Pen, the far-right firebrand, is suddenly finding common ground with left-wing firebrands. It's a union so unlikely, it's making pineapple on pizza look downright traditional. In the grand tradition of French political drama, Barnier is serving up a crisis soufflé that would make even Louis XVI say, "Let them eat cake," while they still can afford it. His political pirouettes would make the Paris Opera Ballet jealous, but his audience seems more inclined to throw tomatoes than roses. It's a performance that's part tragedy, part comedy, and entirely absurd. In other words, just another day in French politics. Now, let's zoom out for a moment and consider the global context. In a world economy shakier than a soufflé in an earthquake, France's fiscal fumbling is sending ripples across the continent faster than you can say economic contagion. The EU is watching this fiscal fiasco with all the enthusiasm of a cat at a dog show, wondering if France's budget woes will spread faster than a viral TikTok dance. If Barnier's budget cuts were a haircut, France would be looking at a fiscal buzz cut that would make even the most avant-garde Parisian stylist gasp in horror. We're talking about a trim so severe, it might just shave off France's economic growth along with its social safety net. It's a look that's less chic Parisian and more panicked politician trying to appease international creditors. But fear not, mes amis, for in the grand theatre of French politics, today's farce could be tomorrow's tragedy, or vice versa. Either way, it's bound to be more dramatic than a Molière play, and twice as absurd. We might just see a government more diverse than a box of macarons, and potentially just as fragile. So, as we watch this Gallic gong show unfold, remember that in France, political stability is about as common as a bad croissant. Barnier's budget is tighter than a snail's shell, leaving the French feeling more squeezed than the filling in a properly made macaron. But in a country where revolution is practically a national pastime, who knows what tomorrow might bring? Now, if you've enjoyed this rollercoaster ride through the back streets of French fiscal folly, why not hit that subscribe button faster than Barnier can say Article 49.3? Trust me, you won't want to miss a single episode of this ongoing saga. It's got more twists than a bag of pretzels at a Parisian bakery. That's all for meow. I'm Ron de Parmesan reporting for News Cats, reminding you that in the world of French politics, the only thing more certain than death and taxes is the uncertainty of both.